emotional when thinking about Manu, but now that you've had a day away from it, is it starting to set in even more?
Is what setting in?
The fact that that may have been the last time that you coached Manu.
Yeah, I don't think about it because he hasn't, decided what he wants to do. So maybe he'll be back, for another year. He'll take some time with his family, and we'll talk at some point. And just like Timmy, Timmy didn't decide right away. It's usually best to take a little bit of a respite from basketball and the crowds and all that, and think about what you want to do. So he'll probably do that, but I'm really happy we did what we did last night for him. I think he really was moved by it, and he deserved it, and it worked out wonderfully.
When you look at the broad scope of the season, the first one without Tim around, what are your primary takeaways from that?
I thought we had a great season. I'm really happy for the group. I mean, there's only one happy team out of 30 at the end of the day. Everybody else is sad at some point. But if you have, half a brain, you put things in perspective. And for the first year without Timmy's leadership and with a lot of new players, these guys got it together to win 61 games and just got better and better as the playoffs proceeded. And we're basically on a pretty good roll starting game one at Golden State. Some bad fortune, which happens to all of us at some point in our lives. And we don't get to be the last team standing. But when I think about what they accomplished, they deserve a lot of credit.
How is Tony doing, and what's the timetable for his recovery?
Well, I think they've already talked about timetables. None of that's changed. And each day he gets better in some small degree. It's going to take a long time, but he's in the rehab process.
And is David Lee, does he have surgery set? Or?
No.
Is Kawhi's ankle just a rest and rehab thing from here on out?
Yeah, he'll stay off of it. Obviously, he's not going to do anything on it. And they'll start rehabbing and do what they need to do. But he's certainly not in Tony or David's situation, that's for sure.
Coach, does the off-season focus almost start to shift towards how do you beat this one specific team because they've been so dominant, because you'll run into them?
Well, I don't think it's just one specific team. It's difficult to match their talent, and they also happen to have wonderful basketball IQs to go along with it, and Steve's done a great job instituting a system. So it's more the way the game is being played these days. People have to be pretty versatile, be able to pass, dribble, shoot. People that are not threats offensively have a hard time getting on the court. So you have to be able to guard those kinds of people, and you have to have that type of person. So that's where it begins. It's not really about a specific team because so many teams are basically playing the same way.
Papa, how would you assess Powell's first season with the team?
Better than most people who have come here for the first year. It's a whole new system. All new players, many of whom are getting used to the system at the same time he is. So it's not like, it was our core group and just added him. So considering all that, I think he did a great job of trying to figure things out. Accepted coming off the bench to make us a better team. So I think he did a good job.
When you consider the totality of what's happened from day one of training camp to now, has this been one of the more interesting seasons of your career?
It was more challenging because we had to back up a little bit and teach things and try to create habits that had already formed, in other groups. So in that sense, it was a little bit more challenging. But, everybody was so receptive and so willing that it wasn't difficult. It just took more time.
What can LaMarcus do to continue to progress to where you guys want him to be, and just can you assess his?
He's doing everything we want him to do. If people come after you and double team you the way they did, it's the same way with Kawhi. When they came after Kawhi, he's got to get rid of the ball. So if we were going to put 2 people on Steph Curry or 2 people on Kevin Durant or Clay, you know, they wouldn't score as much. But the other pieces would kill us. So, you know, you have to have all your pieces in that regard. And not having Tony and Kawhi, it takes away our 2 best creators. They create a lot for our team. And if one of the other scorers is left on his own, like L.A., and he gets doubled, and the playoffs get more physical, then you have to find scoring elsewhere, and we had a problem doing that.
With Patty and Simmons being free agents, how do you juggle sort of how you proceed in the decision-making process?
Well, we don't have time to go through the decision-making process now because that's pretty complicated and it depends on a lot of factors. But, you know, we value all the guys that, you know, are going to be free agents, and RC and I will sit down and put together a plan and priorities and that sort of thing. It's no different than any other year. That happens every year.
What did you think
with every team.
What did you think of the progress of your rookies, especially DeJounte?
Well, as I said before, I think they've done a marvelous job of picking things up and understanding what we expect of them. DeJounte, you know, is the rookie of all rookies on our team, and he showed a lot of courage. He was never fazed by starting when we started him. Whether he was, you know, no matter who he was guarding, including Steph, you know, he went out and did good things, made some mistakes, but overall got a lot of experience. That's going to serve him well in the future.
What's it been like watching Jonathan Simmons' development from D-League to this last series?
Well, he's just one of those guys you have to be thrilled for. You know, I mean, not many of us paid $100 and ended up kind of like in a miracle the way he has. So to see the progress he's made is thrilling for us as a staff, and really happy for him because he's going to have an NBA career now. He's going to have a future in the NBA, and he came along at both ends of the court and started to figure out what professionalism is and what it takes to be a consistent player.
What's the biggest need for this team? Is there something missing, you think, that need
No,
to get through the
there's
draft,
no,
free agency?
No, I'm not looking at a specific need.
Pop, did you have to have talks with Kawhi when he missed those games, just in terms of keep his spirits up? Was he?
No. I mean, we spoke, but we didn't have a talk. I didn't have to say, "Come on now, Kawhi, keep your chin up, buddy." We don't do that.
If he was upset, would you even be able to tell?
Sure. Yeah, I think he'd tell me. I mean, it goes out saying that he would rather play than sit.
You see the point where you need to tell him to get a little more rest this summer, even after the ankle is good, for the benefit of
Well,
his
you know,
career.
it depends what you mean by rest. You know, it's better for players to maintain a certain level of conditioning rather than just have pina coladas, you know, and count the sand pebbles, you know. So he'll do what he needs to do. He's a pro. All right. Thank you all. Have a good summer.
Thank you, Bob.